The ancient Celts left a powerful legacy, mysterious and everlasting. Their secrets lie hidden in misty landscapes, sacred monuments, and ancient mythologies. Celtic myths are rich stories of passion and romance, of the supernatural and magical, stories that can give us new insights into the secrets of the Celts. The Celts thrived during the Iron Age, between 600 BC and 600 AD. Today we think of the Celtic lands as Ireland, the British Isles and Brittany. But during the Iron Age, the Celtic tribes were found right across Europe. The Celts were never a single tribe, but they shared similarities in language, technology and mythology. Myths, handed down by the spoken word during festivals and feasts, were used for entertainment and also for religious teachings.
Celtic myths were a container within which people understood their lives in ancient times. The overall structure taps into all sorts of challenges that people always face. Self-identity, hope, fears, love, hate.
The little evidence that survives of the Celts indicates that procreation, sex, was vital to the survival and regeneration of their fragile communities. Their myths ooze with tales of sex, passion, and romance. Ancient monuments in the landscape also reflect the importance of things sexual. And Celtic festivals, still honoured today, celebrate the cycle of life in the human world and in the natural world. Today we live quite separate from the natural world. The ancient Celts, however, lived close to nature, to wild animals, domestic animals, the living landscape. Nature's cycle brought about life and death. The Celts saw nature as magical, and their myths reflect this, telling of enchanted trees, supernatural birds and beasts, and monsters. The most famous supernatural beast of Celtic myth comes from Scotland, the Loch Ness Monster, a huge, man-eating dinosaur whose story is known the world over. The beast became legendary during the 20th century and a popular subject in art and photography. Superstitions and so-called sightings of the supernatural beast have kept this Celtic myth alive.
We were soon to know, for through our telescopic lenses we saw the grey waters suddenly heave as the monster cut through them with lightning speed. Climatic conditions and exposure day and night to bleak and stormy weather affected our film, which accounts for the misty results. But this is unimportant in comparison to the achievement of filming the monster itself for the first time in history.
Elaborate hoaxes such as this have perpetuated the story in modern popular culture. But it is still not proven whether or not there is a monster. Now, there's an interesting twist to the story. Legend has evolved placing the monster in Loch Ness, a dark glacial lake, 21 miles in area and 800 feet deep. However, it seems that this mightn't be the monster's home at all. It's first mentioned in an account of the life of 6th century monk St. Columba, but the account places the monster not in the lake, but in the River Ness flowing down from it.
When St. Columba arrived at the bank of the River Ness, a man had been bitten to death, he was told, and one of the saint's monks volunteered to swim across to fetch a boat that they could see on the other side. While he was swimming across, a great beast came roaring up, opening its jaws wide up from the depths, and the poor man only just escaped with his life.
St. Columba preached in Scotland during the period of transition from pagan religion to Christianity. At this time, the old beliefs in supernatural spirits was being ousted by the new religion. In the pagan religion, Water was a gateway to the other world, the world of the spirits and gods. Supernatural monsters guarded these gateways.
And the monsters will appear when water is not treated with respect. And that's when you get these sort of horrible creatures coming out and eating people.
St. Columba raised his hand and made the sign of a cross and ordered the beast to go away in the name of God. The original myth of the monster is a metaphor for the new Christian religion driving out the supernatural spirits of the old one. Lakes, rivers and wells were supernatural and spiritual places to the Celts.
Water is immensely important to traditional peoples. For a start, it falls from the sky and refreshes their crops, makes the grass grow in the pastures. It can also flood their lands and destroy their habitations and their chance of growing anything completely. And of course, human beings keep drowning in it.
Archaeology supports this in the objects found in lakes and rivers across the Celtic lands. Swords, highly decorated shields, huge cauldrons, valuable gifts to the gods. This shield from the River Witham in Lincolnshire is one of the finest examples of Celtic craftsmanship. The red inlay on the boss is coral from the Mediterranean. The Battersea shield, ritually deposited in the River Thames, was not made for battle. It's too short and the metal too thin to have withstood a sword blow. The 1st century Greek writer Strabo left an account of a huge hoard of Celtic ritual treasures in Gaul.
The booty found at Toulouse was worth about 15,000 talents. Some of it lying in sacred enclosures, the rest in lakes, and none of it fashioned, but merely unwrought gold and silver.
Not all sacred treasure was cast into water. Many objects were buried. Coins, jewellery, bronze figures, perhaps in petition to the gods of fertility to bring a good harvest. These highly fashioned gold and silver torques were found buried in Snetisham in Norfolk. About 75 near-complete torques were found, 35 kilograms in weight and worth a fortune. Torques were a form of Celtic jewellery worn around the neck by kings and warriors. It was also believed that they had supernatural powers. All these objects were expensive and elaborate offerings to the gods delivered straight to their door.
The gift that we find in the river, in the marsh, buried in the ground, is technically speaking a kind of sacrificial gift to say thank you, whether it's victory in battle, the birth of a child, a good harvest, or something of that nature.
Wales, in the west of the British Isles, is a dramatic Celtic landscape, a place rich in mythology of the supernatural. A tale of passion set at the foot of the Black Mountain reflects the ancient Celts' belief of water as a gateway to the other world. Linnyfanfach is a glacial lake in the Brecon Beacons National Park. It formed during the Ice Age when slow-moving ice gouged out a huge scoop of earth, leaving this eerie, crater-like lake. Inspiration for a story about a magical creature emerging from its mysterious waters. Legend has it that this lake is bottomless and home to a supernatural woman who emerged into the mortal world and changed this place forever. The legacy of storytelling lives on in Wales through tales such as hers. Storyteller Daniel Morden has known the myth since childhood and is still drawn to its mystery.
A shepherd lived just at the bottom of this hill, and whenever he could, he'd walk up the hill, he'd sit on the edge of this lake, and he'd gaze out across the water. He was fascinated by the place. One day, a summer day, he saw, sitting on the surface of the water, making not a ripple, a woman.
The shepherd tried to tempt the woman with bread, but she refused. The next day he offered her dough, but again, no luck. It was only on his third attempt, when he offered her something in between baked bread and dough, that she accepted.
She looked at him. She looked at him. And she laughed. And she stood up. And she began to walk across the surface of the water. And as she walked, she sang a song of calling. And out from under the water came, for a dowry, cows and oxen and a great white bull. And they came, their horns dripping and drooping with weeds. She stepped from her world to his. She took a piece of not bread, not dough from his hand, and she said, "Good is this. You have won me. I will bear you 3 sons, but after you've struck me 3 times, I'll leave you."
The lady in the lake is a frequent motif in Celtic mythology, the most famous being the lady who presented the magic sword Excalibur to King Arthur. These supernatural women are spirits of the other world emerging into the mortal world, beautiful, desirable, and dangerous.
You certainly find lots of stories of ladies coming out of lakes all across Europe. But what you do seem to find only in a Celtic context is a woman coming out of the lake and saying to her prospective husband, "I will stay with you until you do something, and then I will leave you." She's very much more in control of this relationship.
The lady from the Welsh lake shows her authority by warning the shepherd that she'll leave him if he hits her 3 times. But human imperfection gets the better of him, and he hurts her on 2 occasions, giving him just one last chance.
One day the shepherd was walking by the edge of this lake, and he saw a wild horse. He wasn't the man to pass up a chance like that. He went to his wife. He said, "I know you know the secret words. Go to the horse, whisper in its ear, keep it there while I fetch a bridle." And so she did. The shepherd, he threw the bridle over the horse's head, but he threw it too high, too far. It missed the horse and struck his wife upon the wrist. She looked at her hand, she looked at him, and then she turned and she stepped onto the surface of the water. And all of the cattle and the oxen and the great white bull, they came, even into the water. The shepherd, he waded into the water, he reached out, but always his wife was just out of his reach. And then she and the animals were gone.
The myth names the village Mothfai as the home of the supernatural woman's sons. Legend has it that she appeared to them and taught them the art of herbal medicine. During the 13th century, supposed descendants of the woman's sons, who also lived in Mothfai, became doctors to the Prince of South Wales. Gravestones in the village are proof of Mothfai's reputation for producing doctors and surgeons. Even now, the medieval manuscripts are being studied in the fight against cancer and AIDS. The legend is still a talking point in the local pub.
Well, I went there once, but I was a bit late that year. The following year I went there and I caught a glimpse of something, but I didn't have any bread with me, so I'm not quite sure what happened.
You should have tried cake, maybe.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't advise any young man to go up to Llyn to look for a wife. You better if he went to look to any other lake or seaside and found a young lady in a bikini.
Yeah.
Another Celtic water myth is set on the easternmost margins of England, a mysterious place with a strong sense of history, the Isle of Sheppey. Minster Abbey, founded in 664, is one of the oldest churches in England. There have been 1,300 years of Christian worship on this site, but it is believed that before Christianity, this was a place of Celtic pagan worship, principally around its ancient water wells.